turn our attention overseas now to America, where we are going to be seeing overnight tonight. So tomorrow morning we'll have a look at the Republican presidential primary debate, the first debate that's taking place to decide the candidate to stand against Joe Biden in the next presidential election. But the candidate who is way out in the lead is Donald Trump, and he won't be appearing at that presidential debate. Indeed, he's already taped an interview online with Tucker Carlson, formerly of Fox News, of course, which is expected to air at exactly the same time. Let's talk to Shannon Felton Spence, who's political and communications strategist at Harvard University's think tank at the Belfer Center. Good morning to you, Shannon.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well indeed.
So happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much indeed for joining us. Look, Donald Trump has basically said, the American people know who I am. They know my record. I don't need to appear on a stage debating with other candidates. Will that help him or harm him?
I don't think there's anything you can do to harm him at the moment. The guy is being indicted 4 times, and his poll numbers just remain completely steady through the whole summer. So there is no sort of rationale for him to have to be there on Friday. It's sort of Donald Trump versus everyone else. And frankly, I think that the other candidates are not disappointed that he's not going to be there in person, because there will be more airspace for them to air their position, introduce themselves, and show the nuance of the 8 candidates that will be on the stage.
I mean, you forget there are other candidates. One we hear about a lot is Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor. Man, obviously, he was an absolute hero to me on lockdown issues and indeed on fighting sort of, the trans ideology and activism. But he's really not set the world on fire at all as a campaigner for president. He's still way behind Donald Trump. He's going to be effectively, the target of all the other candidates. He's the one to beat in terms of the debate tonight that's going to be held. Why do you think Ron DeSantis hasn't been able to garner the support which so many people, thought, look, he's Donald Trump without all the bad stuff, I think is what a lot of people were thinking on the Republican side. And yet Donald Trump he's double the number of supporters in the party.
Well, Julia, I mean, one thought might just be that the party is not willing to move on yet. That Donald Trump is still sort of this looming figure that Ron DeSantis has to not only convince the public outside of Florida, he's the governor of Florida, that he's a good pick, but he also has to contend with Donald Trump. And that's a really tall order for a new candidate onto the national stage. So Ron DeSantis has really struggled to get started. He's had to actually reboot his campaign a couple of times. But I'm not worried yet, because we are 6 months from primary votes being casted. The debates, we'll have a series of debates through the fall. They're meant to sort of whittle the field. Ron DeSantis is running pretty steadily in number 2. He is quite far behind Donald Trump, but I think we're going to still be seeing him for quite a while. And on the debate stage, it's a very particular type of experience that does well in those settings. So, well, there's Donald Trump. Donald Trump does well because he sucks up all the air and he has his Trumpisms, but also prosecutors, former attorneys do really well on this stage as well. And Ron DeSantis is a JAG, and he is a governor, and so this will be a familiar territory to him.
Yeah, and that is also the thing.
Really excited about seeing is Christie.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but there we are. But that's the interesting thing, though, is just getting the publicity and just being talked about, because even on Fox News, deserted Donald Trump, he's still talked about 10 times as many times as any other candidate. He is still news. He is a former president, and also, of course, all these criminal indictments which don't seem to hurt him. Just finally, he is going to be appearing. He said he's going to basically be indicted, accept his arrest on Thursday in Georgia. Friday, I think, was the deadline for him to appear in Georgia to face those charges. Some would say the most serious charges yet, including racketeering charges and trying to overturn the Georgia election. Again, every time he appears in court, the Trump haters will say they expect that means he will go down in the polls. But yet again, he goes up again, claiming that this is a political battle, not a criminal battle, and that he's just facing, political attempts to undermine him. If you had to put money on it today, as you say, it's a long way away even to choose the candidate. Does Donald Trump become the candidate against Biden next November?
I think that we are looking at Donald Trump sitting on the convention stage next summer. He's just so far ahead of the pack.
Okay.
The calculus would have to change significantly to make a dent in those numbers. And the interesting thing about the Georgia case is it is a state case. And so if he were to become president, he cannot pardon himself in that case.
That's the thing he's most worried about, isn't he? Really good to talk to you. I hope to speak to you again. Shannon Felton Spence from the Harvard University think tank, the Belfer Center